Hey guys, how are you? It's Brennan here, Brennan Miller from Maple Immigration. Listen, I just wanted to do a very quick video and I wanted to talk about the announcement that came out on January 24th, 2024 from the Minister of Immigration. There was a news release that you can find in the newsroom of the IRCC website. And the release is entitled Canada to Stabilize Growth and Decrease the Number of International Student Permits issued to approximately 360,000 for 2024. So I've got that in front of me. Obviously, I didn't just remember the exact headline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through that with you because I actually want to go through the release itself. There's still a lot of things. This is still developing, and there's a lot of things that are actually still we're figuring out because we don't know what the implementation is actually going to look like. But I wanted to go through with what we know and give you a bit of a take on what I think this is going to look like. All right. So again, if you have any questions, you can certainly put them in the comments below. I'm just going to put something up here. If you do have any questions with respect to your specific situation, you can go to our website there, mapleimmigration.ca, and you can book a consultation. And again, if you want to stay updated on this stuff, because there's going to be a lot coming in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. All right. So let's dive into it. I'm going to share my screen. So let me do that here. Now, again, I just want to go through this very quickly. I don't want to spend a lot of time in the weeds on this. So here's the first part of the news release. Again, it just sets the context for the release. It's, we love students, da 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 da. However, there's been this problem and we need to protect people, the bad actors, et cetera, et cetera. So we're putting in these changes. Okay. I'm not going to go through the background stuff here as much. What I am going to do is I am going to talk about some of the other stuff here. Basically, you'll see a thing about the intake cap. They've made an announcement previously about the money going up and whatnot, which, I'm not sure how effective that will be. Probably makes the people that, if somebody wants to get here with that, they're going to go to somebody to borrow money. It just makes them have to borrow more money to do that. And unfortunately, there are people that are doing that. So again, I want to be clear. It's not that I don't agree with the changes that are being done. There's a lot of people here that have been, sold the opportunity of coming here as a student and getting PR. And yes, while there's valid pathways, this ain't 2015 or so when you could come, you could study for a year, get a post-grad, and then, immigrate and be done and finished and out of the immigration system within the year, 8 months at express entry. Like it was, back then, there wasn't a lot of people that were going that route. And now it's just mushroomed into this like massive balloon, so to speak. So the government popped it today. So let's go through this. So there's a cap. Now, the cap is going to, let's see, for 2024, the expected, I'm going to make that bigger for you guys, okay, so that you can see that. Just give me one sec. Put my thing down there. I don't know if that helps out a little bit. So again, the cap is expected to result in approximately 360,000 approved study permits, which is a decrease of 35%. So I think the number was up around 500,000 or 500,000 or over that, that was coming before. So again, they are reducing that. Which, I'm not opposed to. There's a lot of people here, but again, it's just gotten to a thing that it's just mushroomed, and, COVID didn't help that. So in the spirit of fairness, individual provincial and territorial caps have been established weighted by population. That's a good thing. So populations in Ontario or BC, for instance, they're going to get more people to be able to come. And in some cases, that makes a lot of sense because, like Ontario, for instance, there's a lot of different post-secondary school options. Okay. So that makes sense. more unsustainable growth. I do want to comment on that. Again, it makes total sense also because some different I like to, if you look at the things that are flowing around online, there's different messaging that goes out, and some of the times we see is that people want to go to some of the smaller provinces because they've been told that they have a better opportunity. Well, yes, maybe that's true. However, the problem with that is that generally the quota allowances for some of those places don't allow for to sustain the numbers of people that are going there. So it's the same thing with education, and I think that's good. Those pursuing master's or doctoral degrees, elementary and secondary education are not included in the cap, and current study permit holders will not be affected either. Now, that's a really good thing because if you're currently here as a study permit holder, that certainly is good news. Now, um, okay, they're going to put the cap in different provinces, territories, distribute the allocation. We've already done that. The cap will be to implement the cap as of today. Every student application submitted to IRCC will require an attestation letter from a province or territory, and provinces and territories are expected to establish a process for issuing attestation letters to students by March 31st, 2024. Oh, guys, man, oh man, oh man! I'd hate to be in the province right now, and having to deal with that because, quite frankly, um, I'm not sure that they had ample warning. Uh, where I suggest that this is probably going to go is something similar. We have something like this in Quebec. Quebec has something called a CAQ system, where they actually do get provincial um, sign off on that. So again, I think that that's something that is certainly the word I'm looking for, is certainly probably the way that this is going to go. So you might want to think about that. Again, it's not really going to affect you, and I would suspect that most schools are going to have to deal with this as part of their admissions procedure as well, because there were some other announcements with respect to the fraudulent behavior that was going on previous. So I think this is all going to kind of dovetail in together. Now, these temporary measures will be in place for 2 years. Okay. So new study permit applications will be accepted in 2025, will be reassessed at the end of this year. Okay. So that's fine. So 2 years. During this period, government will continue to work with provinces, DLIs, national education stakeholders, developing a sustainable plan for international students. Okay. So they say that they're developing an international or developing a long-term sustainable levels of international students, ensuring post-secondary institutions are able to provide adequate levels of student housing. Um, okay, where do I begin with this? So they say that they're going to be working it out and doing that. There's going to be lots of consultations and different things along those lines. But I believe this stuff is already kind of it's already in motion, guys. Like they're just going to rubber stamp it and all of that. They know where they want to go, and the reason they know where they want to go is you can see it in this application. I believe that a lot of what they've done here is actually going to cost not only the country, but the immigration programs, et cetera, et cetera. I think it could have been done a little differently. I'm also mindful of, not just me, but all of the other stakeholders in it, the schools and a number of different people have been saying this is the wrong way to go. And I certainly believe that. However, there was a problem. They needed to deal with it and they dealt with it. In order to better align with postgraduate work permit program, we're changing the eligibility criteria. Now, starting September 1st, 2024, and you need to take note of this, international students who begin a study program that is part of a curriculum licensing arrangement will no longer be eligible for a postgraduate work permit. Okay. Um, so that's a tricky one because again, people were getting around different they were getting around different statuses that they have, and they were entering into agreements so that they could actually issue the PGWP. However, I don't think that this is entirely fair because the way that they've pointed it is as to a loophole. I don't particularly see that because I know of some examples of this where these agreements have been entered into, and it actually provided different opportunities for some of the schools that were a little bit further out of different urban areas for their students. So, for instance, some schools were able to go, they were able to go to the main campus, and then they were able to go to another part of that. And again, that does talk about that, but it'll be interesting to see how that gets rolled out. Graduates of masters and other short graduate level programs will soon be eligible for a 3-year work permit. Okay. Uh, Under current criteria, the length of the post-grad work permit is based solely on the length of an individual study. Correct. If you study for 8 months, 1 year, right, you get a 1-year permit. 2 or more, you get a 3-year post-grad. So this hinders master's graduates by limiting the amount of time that they have to gain work experience and potentially transition to permanent residence. Okay. So, in case you haven't been noticed, if you are watching the stuff with the express entry or the provincial nominees, you'll see that the immigration levels plan, the numbers have changed, right? It used to be all through express entry and there was lower quotas with the provinces. But now what we've seen is that those have been shifted more to the provinces and there's less opportunity in express entry. Now, it's not to say that there isn't opportunity there. It's to say that the system is actually very, very crowded. I think the last time I looked, it was sitting at about 215,000 of just people going, "Hi, pick me, pick me." But now what we see is that that's up around or previous, it was sitting around 125,000. And there was other programs like the TR to PR and things that were bringing the um, we're taking the stress off of the express entry program during COVID and whatnot. However, the reality is that right now people need to understand that there's two things that are going on. And if you're a student here and you're watching this, I would strongly recommend that you listen to what I'm about to say. You have to protect your temporary status and also think about your permanent status if that's what you want to do. And you're going to have to look at ways that you can elongate this because with the numbers the way they are, guys, you're just going to need to be able to stay here long enough for these things to normalize. And I can tell you, even from this announcement, it's going to be 2 years. Um, in the weeks ahead, open work permits will only be available. So, in the weeks ahead, I don't know what in the weeks ahead means. Is it 2 weeks? Is it 5 weeks? Is it 10 weeks? We don't know. Open work permits will only be available to spouses of international students and master's and doctoral programs. I absolutely don't agree with this at all. Again, they're basically unfairly singling out people, in my opinion. Um, you know, what's the harm of having somebody come as a spouse to come and be with their spouse? I know that if I was going to study, I would certainly want my spouse with me. And sure, I can bring my spouse with me and they can stay, but what are they going to do? We have gaps in the labor market for people. There are jobs that need to be filled. And I like to think that those spouses were actually filling a lot of those. I have clients that are doing absolutely that. Again, I really, really believe that they just basically carpet bombed this whole program because now you've taken away the ability for somebody to be with their spouse. So again, if they do want to come and they do want to study here, I wouldn't want to be separated for that long time if I was in a committed relationship with a spouse at that point during my scholastic career, right? So that's the first thing. The other thing is too is if you're extending that for masters and doctoral students, it's the same thing. It's just that less numbers, and what we're doing is we're putting a preference on people that are studying there. And in actual fact, if you want to look at where a lot of the job roles and everything in the economy are, we're looking at basically people that aren't doing a master's or a doctoral program. You know, a lot of people a lot of the areas that we see high unemployment in right now are, places where people are going to college. Like, let's talk about the trades. you know, I don't know. In one hand, we're talking about building houses and stuff, but we're not talking about where those people are coming from. I would kind of think if we want to build houses, we need tradespeople to be able to do that. And they're not doing master's programs or PhD programs. So it's just not jiving with me totally. And I'm just not sure that we're really thinking about what our needs are in this country. But again, what do I know? The important measures announced today will complement recently announced reforms of international student program. Again, raising the money. Look, yeah, you can raise the money, but people are always going to find a way. I'm lucky because I get to work on the front lines of this and I see people doing that. Now, we run a straight business and we counsel people right up front. But I can tell you, for every straight business that's out there and for every regulated consultant that's out there, there's 1,000 other people that are telling, lies about this being a pathway to permanent residency, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll tell you from firsthand experience, I sat there in rooms of, hundreds of people this year in the Philippines. And I would tell people like, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. You know, People really just want to get here and they want to figure it out. And that's where it's dangerous for a lot of people. So, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. And here's what I want to tell you. Okay. There's going to be more on this. And I don't want to be negative. And you might be like, what is he talking about? With all of this stuff. Okay. Here's the thing. Uh, I was actually putting together another presentation that I was planning to do in about a week and a half, 2 weeks from now, and I'm still going to do it because it's actually more. It's more on topic than it could have ever been, and I'll share with you part of it now. Okay, there's a lot of people in this country right now. There's 1.5 million people that are sitting here on work permits and study permits and every which way. If you actually look at the numbers that of spots that are available, it's only about 15 to 20%. And I think that's actually a very healthy, it's actually, to be honest, it's probably less. It's probably in the 15% area of people that are actually going to get through. And again, go fact check me. Look at the immigration levels plan. Okay. And look at the number of people that are here on temporary permits. Now, this isn't negative. This is just reality. And the reality is that you need to plan on how you're going to be able to stay here, at least until the pressure comes off of the system. I think these announcements are designed to take that pressure off the system, but I also don't think that it's being done correctly. And I certainly think that we're going to pay the price for it, on many different levels. So yes, they will achieve the ability to bring down the numbers, but I think that it's, really going to hurt on a number of different ways. But that remains to be seen. So that's the first thing, guys. Secondly, you have to plan to be able to stay, and you need to be thinking strategically about how you're going to be able to stay here and how you're going to be able to, you know, basically survive. I've alluded to this is the immigration Hunger Games, right? And if you want to be one of the last people that are standing in it, you have to have a plan and you need to put this together. So again, just getting here is not good enough. You need to be able to figure out what you want to do, and you need to figure out what your plan is if you're looking to stay here long term or work or do all of that. So I'm going to leave it at that. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to the channel if you're still with us here. And if you want to reach out directly, by all means, please reach out to us. Our website's there, and whatnot. But listen, guys, don't take these things as negative. I know it sounds like that, but again, these are just announcements. The actual implementation is going to be another thing. I'm a little afraid about how the implementation is going to go, but we're going to find out. And the other thing that I want to tell you is that you really honestly need to start planning now, right? You can survive this, but you're going to need to be guided, and you need to be actively involved in this and have your plan together so that you can compete with the other, all of the other people that are out there. Okay, so this was a bit of a long one, but again, I think that there's going to be other announcements that are coming out. I'm going to be putting this up for people. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. And again, don't think for a minute I'm trying to be negative here. I'm actually trying to be very realistic with you. All right. So we'll talk to you soon. Again, Brandon Miller, Maple Immigration Services, and we'll look forward to seeing you in a bit. All right. Take care, guys. See you in a bit.